I was more human and more acceptable in their eyes if I took their drugs with them from time to time. Anthropologists have known for many years that kinship is the basis of social organization in all tribal societies. I had to collect accurate genealogies on everyone for 4 or 5 generations in depth.
I'm now going to get her kinship
Yanomama social organization is based on kinship ties, marriages between kin groups, and descent from ancestors. People would often move from one village to another. I had to update my census on each return visit. Villages would split into 2 parts. People would move by choice to be with other kin, but sometimes they moved for other reasons.
Why you gonna tell him? This is her daughter, and raiders from Iwi Roboteti stole her daughter, and that's why she's crying. Amo talent. Didn't have white walkway.
This was always tedious and difficult work because they had a taboo against using the true names of close kin or dead ancestors. In addition, many people had several true names and would be known in different villages by just one of these names. At first, they tricked me by inventing false names and fantastic relationships. I had to throw away most of the data I collected during my first year of fieldwork. I eventually solved this problem by using Polaroid photographs. I carried the photos to other villages where people there would give me the correct names and the names of their dead ancestors. I returned each year and brought with me my updated computer printouts containing this data and would add new information or resolve the inconsistencies. Anthropologists study the use of living space and how social groups and individuals divide it up and utilize it. I mapped their villages with a compass and measuring tape. This revealed how social organization was tied to living space. People do not live randomly, but near certain kinsmen. Men must avoid their mothers-in-law and cannot even go near their houses, even when they are not at home. I photographed each section of the village as a guide to my later drawings of the village. Genealogy showed that brothers tend to live together in one section of the village, along with their wives and children. Anthropologists call this kind of group a lineage segment. They are bound to each other by marriage exchanges. I record the location of everyone in my village diagrams. If I forget someone's name, I ask a helper to whisper it into my ear, which embarrasses them. Yanomama villages grow, divide, or fission, and move into new lands. Once I discovered this important process, I devoted much of my work to documenting and explaining it. I learned from this that they were going through a miniature agricultural revolution and a population explosion. Each village was just a temporary interlude in the larger dynamic process and a part of a cluster of interrelated villages. Dedehewa lived in many of the villages shown here, but presently lives in the one called Mishimishimabui Tedi. Documenting village fissioning required the collection of many kinds of data. I made long lists of old garden sites by finding out where each person was born, where they were first married, and if dead, where they died. For women, I collected the name of the garden where they had their first menses. They described village locations by reference to things like mountains, streams, and waterfalls.
Hey, where did you cut it? Chopping on kite.
Chagnon ke hay mama hay ka Chagnon.
Hay bui ka Chagnon. I know this is dark. Okay, Shaki border is 40 degrees west of north from the Chagnon, and it's the waterfalls that they named after me. We have Shayarewa border.
Kita wali ke utat.
The economic and ecological dimensions of this process are also important. I collected data on land use, garden size, where they hunted, where they gathered wild foods, and why they returned periodically to old abandoned gardens. They went back to harvest peach palm fruits. Accurate maps did not exist during much of my field work. I had to make my own. I put on them the abandoned gardens, current villages, and the important rivers, waterfalls, and mountains. I used a compass, and I estimated walking distances to these places from all the villages I visited. I updated my notebooks on cultural geography each year.
This is tape number 3, side 119.
It is important for anthropologists to study myths, for they embody much of the worldview of a people and often explain man's relationship to nature. The Yanomama take great pleasure in telling myths and try to outdo each other by being more poetic or using a clever metaphor. They have to do this within precise limits, for the myths have specific elements that must be stated in a conventional way. Thus, myths might vary somewhat from one village to another, but the core of the myth remains inflexible over very large areas.
Ano si umabom? Where in? Where Leha was making a scaffold high in the tree when Naro snuck up and shot a charm at him. Leha shrieked as the charm passed through the skin of his throat. It did not kill him. Leha was near a fallen abiya tree. Leha was chopping wood from the fallen tree. Naro blew a charm at him as he chopped. It struck Leha. It nicked his throat. When he struck the cord with his machete, it separated, and Sloth was flung violently through the air. He was flipped high and far away.
Lele Bao was one of my closest friends and best informants. He developed a method to teach me the language by breaking each phrase into words and the words into syllables. He took great risks when he guided me into remote villages that were sometimes hostile to his. I owe this man a great deal. I was racing against time during my fieldwork, for I knew that even the remote villages like this one would soon be exposed to the harm and danger that comes with increased contact with the outside world.
Como é que o pai?
Yang apa?
Yang.
Yang buba.
Naba kaba bruga baru.
Now, cover bird.
Kama kahik shomi.
Kama kan show me. Yang now, yang bulu cover jai bird. Yang
Kama udi cari wari awak aku.
yang no yang. Ayang kalau tak siapa yang bird.